So here's the project that we got going on today. I bought this truck to combine the best of these two trucks together into one truck instead of having two. So right now I've been mainly driving that truck. You guys saw me fix that up. I basically got that for free with a plow that I got. I fixed it all up. I put a bed on it. It's been a good truck, but it's gas and it's automatic. So it works. I've towed skid steers, I've towed mini excavators. It works, but it just doesn't have any power. And the Hemi is great, don't get me wrong. The automatic transmission works great, don't get me wrong. Just not a fan of those. This truck you guys have known for a long time. This has always been on my channel. I've always had this truck, but I never use it anymore. I've used this once in the last year. So I recently just took it off the road because there's just no point in paying $150 a month in insurance for nothing. This does absolutely nothing for me. The platform is great. It's got the diesel engine in it and it's got the 5-speed in it. That's great. That's exactly what I want. But it's not extended cab. And that's why I got this truck. Because this truck is the diesel and it's the high output diesel. It's an 04.5, which means it's got the extra options in the engine. It's got like piston cooling, it's got advanced timing, it's just turned up from the factory. So this has got 325 horsepower and 660 foot-pounds of torque. This one only comes from the factory with 235 horsepower and, I don't know, 300 or 400 pounds of torque. So it doesn't really get up and go like this one does from the factory. I do have this one turned up, so it's probably about equivalent to that right now. But that one is starting where this one is leaving off. So we can always turn that up a lot too. That one comes from the factory with a 4-inch exhaust. This one comes from the factory with, I think, a 3-inch exhaust. I upgraded it to 4-inch, but from the factory it didn't have that. So the point of this video is going to be to basically end up with one truck that has the best of both worlds from those two trucks, and then I'm going to sell those two trucks. That way I just have one truck that I'm paying insurance on, one that I can focus on, and hopefully selling these two trucks will pay for this build. And it's not even really a build, it's more like just a refresher on this. One thing I want to take away is the dualies. I don't want dualies, I want single rear wheel. So we're going to find another axle that's meant for a 3500. So 3500 single rear wheel. Another thing we're going to do is upgrade the transmission to a 5-speed. I already have one, it's an NV4500. I'd like to get a 6-speed, but it's just too much money. I don't want to sink that much money into this truck. Another thing we're going to do is change out the bed. This bed is aluminum and it's great, but it doesn't have a headache rack, and I have never welded aluminum. Plus it's not set up for what I want. It sits a little bit taller than it needs to. It's set up for somebody that's welding. So we'll rip this off, sell this. We'll sell the automatic transmission. It's a 48 RE. And in order to do the 5-speed swap, we're going to have to upgrade the transfer case. Probably going to have to get a new drive shaft. I've done this swap before. It's not crazy complicated, but it's not easy either. Now, a lot of people would say, well, why don't you just throw the diesel engine in this truck and then throw the 5-speed behind it? Well, first of all, this truck is not set up for diesel, so there's a whole bunch of conversion factors that I have to figure in there. And on top of that, by the time you switch out the automatic transmission as well, this truck also has rotted out rocker panels, and behind it is rotted out too. There's like nothing left here. So it's good for like a good beater truck or something, but it's not the kind of truck that I want to get involved in sinking a bunch of time and money into. This truck, however, the rocker panels are in surprisingly good shape. There is no rot at all. There's just a little bit of rust where they were scuffed up. But overall, I mean, that's like unheard of. The frame has no rot on it. It's not even starting to. It obviously has rust, but that's just That's impossible to find one that doesn't. And if you do find one that doesn't, it's probably from the south and it doesn't have four-wheel drive. And if you do find one from the south that has four-wheel drive, you're paying a lot of money for that truck. So the point of this isn't to make this truck last forever. The point of it is to get maybe 5 years out of it. This truck also is rotted out completely. So you could also say, why don't you put the extended cab on this? Well, you could do that, but then you end up with a 6-foot bed. So that's not what I want. I want extended cab and 8-foot bed. I know the turning radius is horrible on it, but that's one thing I can deal with. The benefits of the extended cab far outweigh the turning radius, because I have a family of 4, and to have a single cab like this, just, it doesn't work. So let's first start off by pulling this bed, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. I already have somebody that's interested in the bed, and I already have somebody that's interested in transmission. So those might be the first 2 components that we pull off of this, and then we'll just sort of feel out where we want to go from there. I'll probably give this a paint job too. Good. So here's the NV4500 transmission, and this came out of a truck that was in an accident, and this was working fine before it was pulled. So I'd like to clean this up real good, maybe give it a paint job. It's made out of cast iron, but this is aluminum here. And overall, I'd like to just give it a nice pressure washing. I'll go through it. I got to research whether this has the 5th gear nut problem still. I thought that they fixed that at one point, but maybe not. This was on a newer truck. I think it was like a 2006. But we got the shifter with it. I'd like to go ahead and pull the old transmission out and start making preparations for the new one. What I want to do is kind of make this thing immobile as short as possible. So right now I'm going to pick up a new axle for this. Single rear wheel axle. So we'll swap axles and swap transmissions at the same time, because I know we're going to need some parts, which I already ordered. So I won't get those till next week. But in the meantime, we can disassemble everything as much as possible and keep the downtime while this thing isn't mobile to the minimum. And then once we put it back together and we can move it on its own free will, then we will continue on with the rest of the restoration. So one thing that we got to do is get a hole in the floor here. And I was thinking we should probably just do that early on right now, because that might allow us to get the 2 top transmission bolts out easy without having to reach behind the engine. I don't know. I'm not totally sure. I know that's how it works on the older 2nd gens, but on the 3rd gen, I'm not really sure. So I think we need to peel the carpet back, and there should be like a stamped area that we can punch out, or maybe have to cut it out. I'm not sure. But once we do that, we need to do that anyways, because the shifter needs to go there. So I figured we could do that and then see if we can get those top transmission bolts out.
fun. There's a lot of water damage here. That is just...
Alright, so we got the rear drive shaft, the two-piece drive shaft dropped, we got the front drive shaft. We've got all the linkage out from the transfer case. We're just taking down this right here. And then we're going to drop the transfer case. And some people like to drop the transmission and transfer case all in one. I don't. I like to do them separate. So you don't need to take out this cross member to get out the transfer case, but you do need to get this out to take the transmission out. But right now we're just going to drop this transfer case, and most of the time I just do it by taking the last bolt out while I'm underneath of it, and I just pull it down by hand. But we got a transmission jack here. Alright, so this transfer case is meant for an automatic transmission, so this input shaft needs to be changed. So we're going to have to get into that in a little while, but right now just getting it out of the way so we can get the transmission out. It was the goal. And somebody used sealant on this, which you don't need to do because there's a seal right there and there's a seal in the back of the transmission, so they should never leak. And if they do leak, you want to know, so you don't want to seal that up. So that's kind of a no-no, but we'll get this all cleaned up. Maybe even sandblast it real quick. Paint it up. This is cast aluminum.
You want just to...
Now what? I think this thing just needs to roll. Just let me know when.
Might be hitting on the top now. It's so far back.
It's hitting right there on that exhaust. So can we just go sideways? Yeah, there we go. Alright. I think you can start going down with it. It's balanced pretty good, it seems like. Balanced perfect.
Oh yeah. Like that. Pretty easy to me. You want to get yours more even? Bottom there, otherwise it's going to hold still.
I guess that worked.
It's going to fit. Yeah. Just be careful. Yeah, you're good. Of course. Of course.
Alright, so we've got the transmission pulled, the transfer case pulled, the drive shafts pulled, the tank pulled, the exhaust system pulled. So now we are ready to give this thing a sand bath. So what I want to do is sandblast the frame, and I'm going to leave this axle alone because we're taking that off and we're going to put that axle on. That's for a single rear wheel. The only difference really is the tube is about an inch longer altogether, 1.5 inches maybe. So that sets the wheel's width to the right place. I know it's kind of stupid to do all this, get a whole nother axle just for that, but it really would look weird with the back tires sticking in from the front tires. So we'll go ahead and sandblast that, the frame, the springs. Well, we'll do the best we can with the springs. We may have to do them separately once we take them off. But the main part is to just get the frame as much as we can. And underneath the truck, the paint is mostly intact on the frame. I've never seen a Dodge frame with this little of rust. So we're also going to do all these other components: skid plate, cross member, hitch. This is our transmission that we're going to put in here. This is an NV4500. We'll just go ahead and sandblast that and the transfer case. Just do everything all at once, paint everything up nice so that pretty much everything that we touch is painted and nice and clean and easy to work with. I'm going to have to put some different rims and tires on this, so we're not going to bother with that right now. We're not going to bother with anything on the front end. We'll get that kind of. I'm also not going to bother with anything on the body. We're not going to sandblast that. That sandblaster is just too heavy duty for that. End up warping the panels. this point, I'm gonna bring this back inside so it doesn't flash rust from condensation in the morning, like the dew. And my sandblaster holds 600 pounds or 12 bags of the abrasive media. And so that's what I got. I filled it all the way up, 12 bags, and this is what I got. So the frame, the axle, the hitch, the skid plate, the cross members, the transmission, the transfer case, and we were probably a bag short. There's a couple little spots here and there that need to be gotten still, but I'm not too worried about it. The bulk of it is done. So we're gonna take this back inside, bring everything back inside. This can all rust again. The transfer case is all aluminum, so that's not gonna rust. The transmission has the bell housing that's aluminum, the top cover that's aluminum, and the rear, I believe that's aluminum too. The rear bell housing here. The tail housing, I believe that's aluminum too. So for some reason, the side just did not want to clean up that well. I don't know if it's because we ran out or because it just is something that can't be gotten. I don't know. I was gone when this happened, so I don't know the details. But at this point, what I want to do is put my new input shaft on the transfer case, because I just got that in the mail today. So let's go ahead and put this on the bench and tear it apart and put that input shaft in there. So here is the input shaft, and just to make sure, let's go ahead and mate it up with the back of this transmission. Yep, there we go. And that's it. So you gotta tear apart the whole transfer case to do this, but I've done at least a dozen transfer case rebuilds. It's really not a huge deal. pickup screen is not too bad. Definitely seen much worse. It also seems like this was rebuilt sometime recently. I'm sure they used the right stuff gasket sealer, which is great. I love that stuff, but it's a pain to get off when you're trying to get back into it. The magnet's got a little bit on it, but not too bad. 9 times out of 10, what happens with these transfer cases is they run out of fluid because they're just not ever checked, and they develop a leak, mostly through this output shaft seal, and then people just forget about them until their 4-wheel drive doesn't work, or their truck just doesn't even move, because this actually transfers the power even when it's not in 4-wheel drive. So sometimes what will happen is the shift fork will wear down, and then it will actually let the gear slip off, and then even when you're not using 4-wheel drive, it won't work. And I've had that happen. I've seen that happen many times, actually. But everything looks pretty good. The chain, there is a way to test how loose the chain is. I'm gonna have to figure that out, because if it's at all loose, it's the time to replace it right now. But I doubt it, because it was rebuilt pretty recently. So we just need to get this output shaft and the sprocket out of here. So the way to do that is there's a snap ring right here. Take that off. And I think I've done it without taking the output shaft for the front wheel drive off, but I can't remember. It's been a while. So we got our, I think it's a fiber thrust washer in here. And then we got the input shaft, and then there's another fiber, and then like a retaining washer. But that's it, right there. That's the part we're after. So this one also came with a new bearing on the inside, so that's good. I don't need to pull the old one out. And it also came with the cap that goes behind the bearing, so that fluid doesn't go through here. So this is ready to just pop right in here. good. Everything still looks good on this transfer case. It looks like somebody rebuilt it recently. So when you're putting together this case, you really only need to put this stuff on the inside of the bolt holes. You don't need to put them around each bolt hole. But on this one, you do need to put it around the bolt holes because the bolt holes go through this, so fluid can come out of the bolt holes. Might as well paint this while I'm here too. Really don't have to paint the bell housing because it's aluminum, but you know what? Let's just make it all match. I mean, the only reason I'm even painting this stuff is just so that it gives it a little bit longer of a life before it rots away from the salt, which we have tons of here. This might be the first truck I've ever owned that I'll religiously wash it in the wintertime. Because I don't want to go through all this and then have a rusted out truck in a couple years. I mean, you guys have been following along with this build here. And of course, I'll be washing this thing too. But the difference is I'm not going to drive this in the wintertime. It's not going to see any salt. But I gotta drive something in the wintertime besides a car. So that'll be this truck, unfortunately. But it's better than doing it with that truck. And I don't want to have like a third truck. That's kind of why I got that white truck, because it's kind of just like a winter beater. And it worked good for that, but you know, I just don't want to have several different trucks. Just between the maintenance and the upkeep and the repairs and stuff. Let's just keep it all to one truck. And if we're gonna have one truck, let's keep it a diesel and let's keep it a 5-speed or 6-speed. But 5-speed is cheaper. I mean, I'd like to put like a 10-speed in it, but so at this point, we've hit another snag. I went to open up the can of KBS coatings that I had, and it wasn't closed properly, so it was all dried up. I had some left over from my other truck I was going to use for this frame, so the plan today was to get this frame finished up.
Okay. And the whole thing comes out very heavily. And we got ourselves a nice rear. Oh. Wowza.
So I'm gonna paint all the leaf springs for the rear. I did that on this truck for the front and it turned out really well. It just sort of matches everything else. Everything in the back is gonna be like brand new, so you don't want rusty leaf springs back there. Just wouldn't match. I'm using semi-gloss for everything. I'm not really a super gloss fan. Semi-gloss I think is a good reasonable shine for it. It's nice having a sandblaster.
Lovely. Okay. Down yonder. So.
so the whole rear end is nearing its completion here. We've got the frame coated. We've got the new axle in, that's painted. We've got all the brakes hooked back up. These rotors were actually brand new. Didn't have to replace those. The calipers are very new too. So now we are officially single rear wheel. And the only difference between this axle and the other axle was just that this one is an inch longer. Basically, that's what it amounts to. And I probably could have put an inch space on it. I can't remember if it's an inch altogether, if it's an inch on each side, but either way, I probably could have put spacers on it. But you know what? This axle wasn't very expensive, so just put it on there. So everything from the cab back is like almost brand new. And I used the KBS coatings instead of the POR 15 because I did POR 15 on several other trucks and I thought it was great until you go through your first winter and then it rusts right through it. So I'm not doing that again. This stuff seems to work pretty good, and it's what I did my big truck with over there. And I've heard from a lot of people that it's better than POR 15. So at this point, I'm just wrapping up a few more things back here, and then we're gonna put the wheels on, and I'm just gonna put temporary steel wheels on for now. I'm gonna put the alloy ones on later. I'm gonna take them off of my white truck because that one has good rims and tires. So I'll just swap them over. So moving forward, one thing with this truck, when I got it, the guy told me that these lights up here, the clearance lights, were leaking, at least one of them, but probably a bunch of them. And what they're doing is they're leaking down here, dripping down, and then that happened. So that is not good. I didn't realize there was rust in the floor when I got it, but he wouldn't have known either because it was underneath of everything. The guy I got this from is very straightforward about everything. He told me every little thing that was wrong with it. He actually lives a mile down the road, so you know, we both know where each other lives. So it's not like it was a shady deal or anything. But I don't mind fixing this. It is what it is. So we got to get that cut out there, and I'll replace it. And I did start taking out some components for the old automatic transmission. So the transmission oil cooler up here, behind here, we took that out. And we're working on taking out the lines. I think some of the lines go to the oil cooler though, which is, it's on the back of the engine. It's something that's like a heat exchanger that takes the engine oil and has a heat exchanger with the antifreeze, and it cools it down. And so I got to find a way to cap and plug that right there. But you know, we got some lines that we can take out here. That'll free up a little bit of space there. And then also another thing that I'm gonna do right now, actually, I'm gonna start working on getting the flex plate out of there. I'm gonna replace the rear main seal, and then we'll move forward and get the flywheel installed, and then the pressure plate and clutch. Okay, so this is the wire that went to the transmission, all the wires. One of these is going to be the reverse, so at some point I need to figure out where that goes. But for right now, let's just get these out of here. I'll trace that later. Yeah. Good riddance. Now the other set of wires goes down probably to the computer. It's amazing that this little thing, this piece of tinfoil here, can hold all that torque from that transmission. I don't know how that's possible. You know, it looks like it was a good idea to do this rear main here because it looks like it's leaking. I can't be sure, but it definitely seems wet down here and not up there. Usually you replace these as preventative maintenance, but this time I think it actually needs to be fixed. So the right way to do this is to take this adapter plate right off. This is an engine to transmission adapter plate. And then there's another plate that you take off that actually gives you access to the crankcase. It opens up a small hole here, which is also the seal for the oil pan. But I'm not a fan of opening up something like that unless I really think it's needed. This is what we're after. That other seal in there doesn't go bad near as often. So I'm going to take a couple screws, screw it into that seal, pop it out, and pop the new one in there. Okay. And that's all there is to it. Clean that up real good and put the new one in. So if you get a Felpro seal, it'll come with the inner plastic protector, and it comes with the driver here, which is really nice. I hate when you have to buy like a $300 tool to put it in. So that kind of guides it to get it started.
missing.
I put the other nuts on the actual center console piece.
You're probably gonna have to
Yeah, there's
turn
all
it.
kinds of, wires plugged in on here too.
That one's gone.
All right, so what we did was sand everything down. I used 200 and 320 to sand everything down so that our primer will stick to this. So we haven't done any body work yet. We're just sort of prepping it for the body work. So there's a lot more imperfections that I didn't realize that were on here. So it's going to be quite a bit more work than I thought. And originally I wasn't going to do the door jambs, but I think that that would be really silly to not do that. So the color that I'm going to paint this is going to be like a charcoal gray. And I made that decision after going back and forth a bunch of times. I was originally going to do white, and then I was going to do like a lighter gray, and then I settled on a charcoal gray. I was originally going to do a Rust-Oleum paint job, but I decided to kick it up a notch and just get something a little bit more professional. So I just went to the auto body store and got a block kit. And this is the only way to really get good body work. You can't really do it with just sanding sponges and the orbital. You really just can't get a good job with that. And that's what I've done in the past. So we're gonna kick everything up a notch a little bit. So using this 2 3/4 sanding, they're like stick-on adhesive sanding rolls, and you put those on here. And for my body filler, instead of using Bondo that you just buy at any box store, I got this stuff. This is supposed to be quite a bit better. This is like a medium grade though. Some of the stuff you can really spend a lot of money on. And then for my paint, instead of the Rust-Oleum, I went with the Omni. This is an acrylic enamel, and the color is called Ceramic Gray. That's about the color of those letters right there. Almost kind of like a military color. And it's non-metallic. I really wanted to go with metallic, but this is a single stage, and metallic with single stage, the guy that sold me this, he said that's not impossible, but it's kind of hard to get a good paint job with a single stage with the metallic. So I just skipped the metallic. We're gonna do solid color. And then once you think you got it pretty good, then I'm gonna use this. It's called Quick Check. And basically this sprays on and makes it look super glossy temporarily, just so you can see any imperfections. So if you spray this on once you think you're done and it looks good, then you're probably good to go. And if not, then you need to do more work. And you can kind of do the same thing with water, but this shows up a lot better. It's a lot more glossy. So at this point, we're just gonna keep working on this. We're gonna get the door jambs, and what I'm gonna do with the door jambs, instead of wasting that good paint on the door jambs, I got another paint that looks just like it. It's like identical. It's Rust-Oleum charcoal gray. So we're gonna do all the door jambs with this, and that way we don't have to use expensive paint for that. And it's a little bit easier too, because I don't have to set up the spray gun. So bodywork is something that I just don't have a lot of experience with. Never really was interested in it. Thought it was a lot of work. But I don't want to pay somebody thousands and thousands of dollars to do it either. It just wouldn't be justified with this truck. This is kind of like a daily driver work truck, so no need to go crazy on it. I'm not looking for showroom. I'm looking for mediocre. Those tires and rims are not going to stay on here, so I'm not worried about getting any spray on them. That windshield needs to be replaced. It's got a big crack in it, so I'm not worried about that. Okay, so this paint calls for a 4:1:1 ratio, which that right there is a 4:1:1 ratio. So if I put that much paint in, then I can put that much hardener, and then I put that much reducer. Using a hardener, reducer. So this paint job turned out a lot better than I thought it would. If you read the reviews online, some people are saying it doesn't cover that well. I had no problem with that. I got good coverage on like the first coat. Of course I had kids come in here and smear fingerprints afterwards, but I think that'll just buff right out. I gotta do some buffing on this. More kid fingerprints and smearing and stuff. But overall, I'm really happy with the color. I'm happy with how well it covered. In general, I'm just happy with the paint job. I didn't do any body work to the back here because I figured that the headache rack would cover that whole thing. So you can see imperfections everywhere, but you won't see that later on. And I also didn't do a lot of work on the roof either because I could have spent 3 days on the roof and I just see no point in doing that. Something happened with the roof on this. Somebody did something to that. Somebody like either dropped something or got in a small accident or something. I don't know what happened, but there's some imperfections on the roof. But I'm just not worried about it. It's not something that's very visible. It's already got dust on it from having this open. So there, now you can see the full color in the sunlight. Oh man, I can't believe all those smear marks. Hopefully that buffs out. It's only been about 12 hours.
trick with this stuff to see if it works.
That's my seam sealer. It's paintable, so that's why I'm using it. All right, so we're finally ready to set the transmission in here. So I wanted to make sure I got the floor pan taken care of first. I did a couple coats of rubberized undercoating underneath of here, so now it's nice and clean. Because I know that once the transmission is right here, this stuff is all forgotten about forever. It'll never be touched again, so I wanted to get anything that I could while I'm right here. So if you look around, everything around this transmission is gotten. From there forward is still all the original paint on the frame, so I figured I'll just leave that alone. Same thing there. From there forward, there's almost zero rust on that. It's just paint. So it just got some dirt on it right now, but that can always be washed off at any time. But at least I don't need to get the rust off. And then from here back, we put that KBS coatings, and we also did a bunch of prep work ahead of time. Still need to do some work here, but we need to get this grease or oil off. This is from the transfer case slinging oil. This is right where the rear output shaft of the transfer case is, and that seal always leaks, so then you end up with oil just slinging everywhere, and that's what happened here, and that's what happens on almost every truck. I know it kind of almost looks like that stuff, but it's not. That's oil. But right here is behind the transfer case, so you can get this easily, even with the transmission and the transfer case in place. So the only thing I need to do is hang the insulation back up here. There's like this insulation isolator type of stuff that goes back up here. And as soon as this dries, we'll get that. But in the meantime, we can work on putting the flywheel in, and then put the pressure plate and clutch in. And then by that time, this stuff will be dry, and we can hang this insulation back up and pop this transmission in.
Never seen it like water. Like
Yeah, you're supposed to knead the thing. Like you close the lid and you knead it back and forth. And then we got to figure out something with this ground strap, because I don't want to put this back together with it like this. When they're dropping a transmission or something, I don't know why it would break like this. They shouldn't even have to take it off.
I don't know if it's that. If it's not that, then it's this 7/16 sitting here.
Oh, that's broke actually.
It's broken. Is there any way I can assist? Nope.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know if that's ever gonna stay. No.
It's getting a little easier. Huh? I guess it's getting a little easier, I think.
Getting close.
Alright, it works. You gotta come grab this thing. Maybe up there. I'm gonna pull on that fabric. Up.
Man, freshly painted transmission. It sure is dusty. Oh well.
This seems like it's not doing what I want it to.
Let's go. You're good.
Very scary. You have no place to do anything. Seems like you need to go over more.
What I need to do is. There we go. Good.
Yeah, that solves everything.
Take.
You might want to put some tape over. Maybe hit
There you go.
Perfect.
there. That's
You're
it.
in.
All right, now go up a little bit. I also need to position that.
There you go. Never mind.
Okay.
Now you're in.
Put a bolt in it.
Hold on. Bolt.
Whoa. Don't even worry about that, because when you get it in, it'll be in. It's very tight in there. Okay. Now.
All
It's
right.
gotta go back your way, or you gotta beat it back my way, or something.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's good right there.
Perfect. Bolt. Hallelujah. Where'd you go? That one.
Let's let that down a little bit. Up. Reverse. Oh, hang on. Let's tilt it.
Ooh, shizzle sticks. Oh, hold on, hold on. Okay.
This is kind of the sissy way to put in a transfer case. Usually just get underneath it, grab it, and growl. I guess. We'll do it like this. I don't feel very manly today though.
Okay. Okay, that's probably close. The shaft is lined up with the splines. We can get it. Oh, man, I just can't see. Oh,
You're good.
touching. Huh? I said the splines are touching.
Hold them half the weight. I'd say just let the jack come out. I'm just gonna put this in the old-fashioned way. Just stab it.
You got it? You got a hold of it? I'm gonna go around the other side and get that jack out.
Alright, time to do it the old-fashioned way.
Right there. Spin. Okay. Okay. Now you just gotta go up with it. Right. Oh man, it's so close.
Yeah, it's right there.
There you go.
Yep. And that's how it's done. I mean, usually I'm laying directly underneath of it, but this also works.
Gotta go in more though. There you go. Perfect.
Yep. Well, we turn it. Yep. Well, I can get a clamp on it now. Yeah. Just pop it down. There you go.
Like breaks it to get it in.
That nice clean floor. Perfect time to work on putting the pedals in. Well, one pedal anyways, and then I gotta cut this pedal down. This pedal is supposed to be about that big. So what I need to do is either take this out or just cut it in place here. I need to cut it because I cannot buy a new pedal. They don't make them anymore. And you could find one used with the whole bracketry that goes up there. There's a whole panel with everything, the gas pedal, the brake pedal, the clutch pedal, everything all in one, but it's like $400 to buy that used. It's not even new. So I'll opt for the free version, which is just to hack this down and then get a new pad for it, and that's it. It's like a $5 thing. I'm able to get the clutch pedal. Okay, let's see. There we go. All right, so now that the clutch pedal is in. So if you'll notice, even though this truck is an automatic, it has a spot for a clutch master cylinder right there. So there was a plate there and we just took it off, and now there's just some holes that you can put the master cylinder through that and connect the rod to the back side of this clutch pedal, and then that part is all done.
Looks better without a bumper.
Without that iron on there.
Yeah. I don't know how far about the trails. This last time. Also that
Honestly, this is so strong, probably one of them would hold up the hood.
Yeah.
If you buy these at the store, like at Advance Auto, they're like 40 bucks a piece. Buy them at Rock Auto, they're like $7 a piece. Storage.
I said, that's so much better. I said I could barely push it down to get it into the thing. I had to do things.
All right, so underneath the truck here, let's talk about something that I thought was going to be an issue, but it's not. The drive shaft length. I thought I was going to have to put a new tube on here because people were saying that you needed to extend the drive shaft. Well, I'm only about 3/4 of an inch less than it was before. So the drive shaft is sticking out of the transfer case 3/4 of an inch more. I still have many inches of engagement in there with the spline. And as far as I know, all you need is 1.5 inches of engagement on the spline. I have more than that, I'm sure of it. So I don't think this is going to be an issue at all. Also with the front drive shaft, that is going to be too long. That's what everybody said anyways, but it fits. There's still room for it to move too. Like, it's not tight right now. It's tighter, but there's still probably 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of play in that joint right there. So I think that's more than enough to accommodate for the axle going up and down. So the axle can't move frontwards and backwards. This control arm here would prevent that. The only thing it can do is pivot a little bit which would give it a slight angle and bring it in and out just very little. I mean, it's not enough to do anything really. So I don't think this is going to be an issue. So that's really good because I know driveline shops are not cheap, and I was expecting it to be $1,000 or more to be able to cut down the front drive shaft and to extend the rear one. So that's a big cost that's not necessary.
Now what? Whoa. What in the world? Oh man, look at that. Wow. And still got paint on it, still good.
Okay, so I picked up these seats off of an 010 Dodge Ram. So that's the 4th generation, and they're much more comfortable. So they should bolt right up, and then I just got to figure out the wiring because these seats are heated and cooled. So we'll hook that up eventually, but for right now, I just want to get it so it can move. So it only cost me, I think, $400 for these seats, plus the middle console, but I can't use that.
Okay, I'm in.
Alright, so we got everything all wrapped up on this truck. Now we're just doing a few cosmetic things, a few creature comforts. So we put these mirrors on, put these seats in. I'm upgrading the lights right now. Look at the difference. That's the old light, that's the new one. These LED lights, they're like 600 lumens. Look at that thing, it's barely doing anything. And look at that. So right now we're putting in this Bully Dog tuner on the pillar here. I don't know if I'm going to use it or not, but at least I can use it for the gauges. Because I'm probably going to have to get a Smarty tuner to make this a manual, but right now it's working, so I'm going to leave it alone. And the other pillar was broken, so we put this one on here. This is already making 325 horsepower and 660 foot-pounds of torque, so that's probably about the limit for the transmission anyways. So right now we're also upgrading all the speakers. I got new 6x9s for the front, I got 3.5-inch tweeters, and then I got new 6.5-inch speakers for the back, which those are 5 1/4, but we're going to upgrade them to 6.5. I also got a subwoofer and a new stereo, so we're just going to pop all this stuff in real quick while we're waiting for the bed to come off of the other truck, and then it'll be nice in here. Old stupid bulb, new LED bulb,
21st century bulb. No, I didn't do that on the other one. Let me make sure it works. Sometimes if you put them in, yeah. There's like a direction it's got to go.
Yeah. And new clear markers. Slight smoke tint to it. The only problem is I had to get amber bulbs because this is clear, so the whole thing would be clear if I left clear bulbs in there. So I got some amber LED bulbs.
Toy.
Nice. Sweet. Do it again. Oh. Yes, sir. Now I just got to determine whether I want these lights to be on the parking lights or for the blinkers. I see now. It's got this little thing right here. There we go.
Carrera? I don't know how to pronounce that. Blah, 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 blah. To use able in locate state and federal law. Install. This label must be removed by the end user. Well, that makes no sense. That's how you get it off.
There's no reason to put a new bed or build a new bed for this truck when I have this perfectly good one, and I'm just gonna sell this truck, so I don't feel like selling this bed. It's worth more than I could get for it. So what I would like to do is pull this off. I wanna sandblast the surface here because every time I got diesel on, it would get underneath of this stuff and it would peel it up. I think part of that's because I didn't do a great prep job on it. So I think the solution to this is gonna be pull this off, sandblast this whole surface, make it nice and rough so there's no mill scale, plus it's more rough than it would be with anything else. And then I'm gonna put a new bed liner on it that's different, that's supposed to be better, more chemical resistant, and we'll put it on the other truck. So now when I hook up all the wires for this bed here, I'm gonna put one of these in so that the next time I take it off, it's not so intimidating by having to cut all the wires and figure them out again. Because I think every year or two I should be taking this bed off, flipping it upside down, kind of restoring it from the rust, checking on things. Especially since this houses a gooseneck, crucial to keep the structural integrity of this bed. So we're really close to getting this finished up. Just got to put the bed liner on, and I need to put some mud flaps on. So here's my mud flaps. I got a 16-inch box for the back behind the tires, and I got a 30-inch box for in front. So I got them for both sides. So I got 4 mud flaps, and these mud flaps are aluminum, but they're painted black, so they match everything. Probably still would have looked good with just the aluminum look, but I don't know. I think black looks good. Black looks really good with the gray. I really love the look. So, you know, a big mud flap, small mud flap. And hey, they store stuff too. Oh yeah, and I think I said it earlier in the video, but I'm taking the alloy rims and tires off my other truck. I'm gonna finally put those on here now. So we're getting everything wrapped up. In the next couple hours, I should be able to drive this down the road and be done with it. That is awesome. And that's only one of 4, and that's one of the smaller ones. I can already tell you how much sturdier this is going to be. Watch.
Oh yeah, night and day.
That's the trick. You got to get them bolts next to the edge.
Only plug that I saw that came off the door panel is that. The window switch.
Do I?
Yeah, I mean, they'll kind of go in by themselves when you go through that way.
I'll just put in this one. Clear front. is you're supposed to kind of wear them in a little bit. You're supposed to kind of like slip it. Alright guys, so this turned out to be a very big project. This is a long video, a lot of work involved, but I didn't want to split it up into several videos. So just to give you an idea of the cost, I bought this truck for $4,000. Between the transmission that I sold and the bed that I sold, I got $2,100 back from that. So that brings us down to $1,900. And then with everything that I bought for this truck, I'm thinking it's probably somewhere around $4,000. So we have about $6,000 into this truck total. And now I can sell my green truck and my white truck, and I'm hoping to get $6,000 to $7,000 between the two of them. So hopefully once I'm done, everything will be kind of paid for. I did spend a lot of time that I'm not going to be paid for, but I do have a better truck now. So that time went into a better truck. So I really like the color. I have no problems with the color. Even the black bumper with the gray and everything else being black, I actually really like that. And a little bit of shiny like chrome aluminum here and there. I like that a lot. I think it's perfect. One thing I don't really like is the color of this bed. I forgot that I had a different idea of what I was going to do, so I ordered a gray for the bed, but I kind of forgot that I ordered that until I opened up the can, and then it was like too late. So I should have just had black on it like I had before, but at least it's done properly this time. And then next year, if this color really bothers me, I can always just put a thin coat on top of it just to make it black again. But I don't think it's too bad. It's just a little bit weird. One thing I really like is these boxes. I already fell in love with these boxes. This is probably going to be one of those situations where when I start using them, I'm never going to be able to go back to not having them. I mean, think about how nice this is going to be to not have storage on the bed and just have it in the boxes. So I was carrying around a big tote. It was a really heavy duty one. It was really nice. It was waterproof and I could store a lot of stuff in there, but it got messy in there real quick because there was no compartments. I suppose I could put compartments, but these are so much better. I'm thinking I could put like straps in one of these, like straps and bungee cords, and a toe strap too. And then I could have in the other small one back here, I could put like a tool set, like a socket set, and some wrenches, some screwdrivers, miscellaneous things like that. And then I have two of them that are freed up for making long trips where we can put stuff in there. Like when we go up to the Adirondacks, we can put stuff in the front too, unless I find a different use for them. And I'm gonna put either wood sides, or maybe I'll make something else out of like, I don't know, like Trex decking maybe for the sides, or possibly some metal. I don't know. I don't really like the idea of metal because it's really got to be tight in there. Otherwise it's always going to be clanking around. So if I can figure out something to put some metal sides on here, steel probably, and secure them in a way where they don't rattle around, then I will put those in. But I do need some sides on here. This works really great as a flatbed right now, but when you go to put stuff in here to make a trip, like on a vacation or something, you don't want stuff to be like flying all over. It's nice to be able to just set things in the back and not have to worry about them flying away, which you would have to worry about if you don't have sides on it. I can tell you though that this bed liner grips so much better than diamond plate. I was originally going to do diamond plate on this bed, but even diamond plate is very slippery. So you'd have to add some texture to the diamond plate. If you were just going to paint it, you'd have to add some texture. I suppose you could put diamond plate and then put this on it, but that'd be kind of silly because you'd ruin the look of the diamond plate, and then you'd also pay a lot more money for the diamond plate and paying for this too. But even in the rain or the snow, this is not going to be slippery at all. It's very similar to the product that I used before. It's almost identical. It's just supposed to be more chemical resistant. So for stuff like diesel spilling on it, I think it'll hold up now. And I think also before I didn't have it prepped good enough, and that's why that happened. So there is a few things I do need to wrap up on this truck. Like I need to find another fuel filler. I think that mistakenly went with the bed when I sold it, so I need to find another one. And like I said, there definitely is some imperfections in the paint, especially on the roof, but all over there's imperfections that I just did not see before. I kind of rushed it a little bit. We spent a lot of time on the bodywork, but we could have spent more time. But I'm not too worried about it. I'm not the type of guy that's like worried about little dings and dents in the truck. As long as it's one color and it's kind of uniform, that warrants me spending the time and money to do that. It was really bad looking before. The clear coat was all fading and I didn't like the color at all. So the interior on this turned out really well. I really do like the interior on this. I did put a new carpet in. I don't know if you guys noticed that. But then the seats are really comfortable. That's a huge upgrade. It's nice to have a stereo. I have a subwoofer underneath the seat. I'm not a fan of this tan interior, so maybe I'll start replacing those eventually if I can get good deals on them, maybe on eBay or something. The door panels are pretty bad looking. I don't like the color. Plus they're dirty to the point where you can't clean them. And then also like that is terrible. I need to get a new glove compartment door. So I may upgrade the interior and get something. I like the darker colors for the interior. I like this color, that color. Everything else I don't really like in here as far as the panels go anyways. And there is some things I need to fix on this headliner. I don't know exactly what to do about that, but I haven't even looked into it, so we'll figure that out. And then, of course, the steering wheel. I'll try to replace this steering wheel with 4th gen if I can. I think you can do that. I got to check into it. But things like that, I wasn't too worried about at the moment. We can do that like as time goes on. I don't need to make a video about it either. I do need to replace the windshield because I got that crack there. And I got these scratches. There must have been some sand when somebody was using the windshield wipers. Not me. This was before I got the truck. But, I mean, we just need a new windshield anyways. And for those of you that are wondering and you know about Dodges, you probably know that the NV4500 transmission is a good transmission, but it is not up for the task for a lot of torque. I think it only handles about 460 pounds of torque. But there's been reports of well over 800 pounds of torque that it's handled without a problem. So the 600 and something pounds of torque that this truck has at the moment is, I'm sure it's fine. I did add an extra quart in. What you're supposed to do is fill it up to the fill plug through the top, and then you put the fill plug in and then pour another quart in. A special fluid that I got from Rockland Standard Gear, which is a GL65 fluid. And so that has a quart of extra fluid for extra cooling. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, why didn't you upgrade to a 13-inch clutch, a 13-inch flywheel, and go with the 1 3/8 input shaft? Listen, I just don't think it's necessary. I don't really need... This is more like a daily driver. It's not like a tow rig. It's not meant for towing, just about as heavy as I can get. I have other trucks for that. I have the Lowboy, I have the dump truck, and I have the International. All three of those trucks are capable of towing circles around this truck, regardless of how much you turn this truck up. So this truck is meant for towing things like 8,000 to 10,000 pounds. That's what it's going to be used for. I'm not going to push the limits of it. There's no point in doing that when I have other trucks that are perfectly capable of doing that. I just wanted something that was diesel. This thing gets about 18 miles to the gallon right now. And my white truck was getting 12, plus you got to put premium gas in there. And so I just wanted something that was diesel, that had a lot more power than that Hemi, and I wanted something more reliable than an automatic transmission. Even though the RFE 545 that's in that Dodge Ram, the white one, the automatic transmission, that is a good transmission, but I like manual transmissions. I don't care what anybody says. I will always like manual transmissions. Unless I can't push the clutch in, I will always have one. So that's that. One thing that really threw me for a loop with this truck, I had no idea that when you have the Infinity sound system, I thought it was great that it had that, because that's like an upgraded sound system. I had no idea that they have an amp underneath the glove compartment there. And if you want to put it in aftermarket radio, you got to bypass that amp, because all of the speaker wires go into that amp, and it's behind the airbag. It's on top of the HVAC. You got to take apart the whole dash to get to that amp to reroute the speaker wires, because the speaker wires don't go to here. They're just like a communication wire that goes from the amp to here. So when you hook up the speaker wires from here, nothing happens. So that definitely threw me for a big loop. I had no idea what was going on. I thought I got a bad head unit here. Turns out that I had to get a bypass kit, which I ordered, and then it was the wrong one. So I had to kind of like finagle it to make it work, and then I had to order another one, and that still hasn't come in yet. So I do have the front speakers working. The 3 tweeters up there and the 2 front 6x9s that I put in here are working. For some reason, the back speakers aren't working. I replaced those 2. Those are brand new, but they don't work. Something's wrong with the wiring or something. I don't know. But yeah, that delayed me by like an entire day trying to figure that out. I hate wasting an entire day on something stupid like that. Like, I could put the head unit in 15 minutes, but instead I spent 8 hours. And right now I have no console right here, but I'm kind of liking this. You can put a lot more stuff in here without this console. When we go up to the Adirondacks, my dog Pearl has her own bed that she lays down in. And whenever she's like in between the kids here, she always ends up falling down. And the other dogs trample on her all the time. And she's getting old. She's like 15 and a half years old. So we try to put like a dog bed on the floor and a dog bed up here. But then I guess what I'm saying is having a dog bed right here for her would be perfect. I think it's worth not putting a console in just for that reason, even though I absolutely love the console, being able to rest my arm on it. So I'm thinking maybe I'll build some armrests right here that's just an armrest. I don't know. I'm really going back and forth about that. I really don't know what exactly I want to do. I want a console, but I like the fact that there's room right here. And to be honest with you, I like the 3rd generation console better than the 4th generation. So, I don't know. We'll figure out what to do with that. And these seats are heated and cooled. I don't have that hooked up. I have to put in like this whole system for that. That's got like this control thing that you got to put in here, and you got to put switches in. And normally people would put it right here where this pocket is, but I like this pocket here. So I may just put in a switch right here on the side and right here on this side for the heated seats. I don't know if I'm going to do the cooled seats or not. We'll see. But that's all stuff I can do in the future. Right now, I just want to stop working on this truck for a while. I just want to work on other things. The truck is fully capable of doing whatever I need to do right now. It's just a lot of the creature comforts that I need to keep going on, but we can do that later on when I got a little bit of time here and there. But anyways, I know this video has gotten really long. I apologize for that. I know that people are always divided between the brands of trucks. So if you're a Ford guy, if you're a Chevy guy, you probably don't have much interest in this video. So thanks for watching anyways. But in the meantime, let's get back to something else, and I'll see you guys on the next video.